Okay, we're going to start now. Good afternoon, thank you for coming. My name is Maureen Massie. I'm from the British Council New Delhi Teaching Centre. I'm the senior teacher for training there. I'm responsible for in-service teacher training, mentoring, and also coordination and delivery of the CELTA teacher training program. This informal coffee shop session is to give you information, the opportunity to answer questions specifically about the CELTA course. Yeah? All right. What does CELTA mean? That's C-E-L-T-A. Yeah? CELTA. C-E-L-T-A. Can you turn and talk to the person sitting beside you and tell him or her what you think it means? You've got 10 seconds. Go ahead. All right then, fine. So, what do you think? What does it mean? Yes? To adults, all right? Perfect. That is correct. Sometimes also certificate in English language teaching to speakers of other languages, but specifically for adults. What do we mean by adults? Yes, usually 18 above, officially 16 above, but certainly for CELTA, 18 and above, usually 20 and above for CELTA, yeah? All right, then fine. Okay, where did I say I work? British Council. British Council what? Delhi, in the what? In the teaching centres, yeah. What do you know about the teaching centres? Very little, that's what I thought. So I'm going to give you a quick context, and then we're going to specifically move into the CELTA, yeah? So we were talking about open books and everything, weren't we? I'd like you to open your books at page 169 of your conference program. Are we okay with that? All right, and you have 1 minute to read the information about the teaching centres, the British Council teaching centres in India. You have 1 minute, and I'd like you to look for 2 pieces of interesting information. How long do you have? 1 minute, so get going. Okay. Can you share with the person sitting beside you 2 interesting pieces of information that you found out about the British Council teaching centres in India? Something you didn't know before. Go ahead. Stop reading now. Go ahead. All right, then. Hopefully you found out lots of interesting information. We don't have time to hear it all. Let's ask 3 people to share something interesting they found out. Any volunteers? Go ahead. In a whole range of courses. This session is about the CELTA. What section of the courses does that come into, do you think? It comes into teachers and trainers. Exactly. Exactly. All right. At the Delhi Teaching Centre, we deliver the CELTA training course. It's also delivered in Mumbai and in Chennai. In India, we deliver 9 CELTA courses per year. Okay. I can talk specifically about the Delhi course because I have the responsibility for that. And the idea of this session is to have an informal coffee shop session. That's the idea of it, so that I can share some of my experiences with you, perhaps in a more anecdotal kind of way, the real experiences from the Delhi Centre, and that you have the opportunity to ask any questions at all that you wish. All right? So I'm going to start with some general key information about the CELTA course. Yeah? And that may be sufficient information for some of you. You may say, oh, that's interesting, that's all I need to know, and I might go and drop in another session. As I continue, I'm going to get more and more specific because I know there are some people in the audience who are thinking of applying for the course, for example, next month or in a few months' time. So the session will become more and more specific for their kind of questions. So if you feel that you've found out enough after a certain time, feel free to leave and join another session. That's the idea, yeah? I was asked to deliver a coffee shop session, so I have my coffee table and chair. Unfortunately, you were in a bigger hall, so we got to kind of imagine your coffee shop situation, if you like. Okay, we'll try and keep it like that, keep it free-flowing, sharing information and asking questions as you wish. Does that seem okay? Yeah? All right, then fine. So, some key information, if you like. The course, the CELTA course, is delivered to over 10,000 people around the world every year. Okay? So that's 10,000 people in different countries around the world every year. How many courses do we deliver in India? Right, very good. Okay, it's, as many of you know, it's a widely recognized qualification. It's highly regarded and accepted by thousands of language schools, universities, teaching organizations, and other concerns, again, around the world. It is an intensive 120-hour initial teacher training course, and it's delivered in 1 month. Right, so that's 120 hours of delivery hours in 1 month, and that also requires the candidate to put in at least another 80 hours of individual research, study, and reading. Yeah. So many people say that 4-week course is a bit like one academic year, if you like, that each week is like a trimester, something like that, because it's a very, very intensive course. Yeah? Okay. And the interesting thing about it, the thing that probably has the most appeal to many of the candidates, is that it has equal emphasis on teaching principles and very, very intensive focus on teaching practice. Real hands-on practice in the classroom from day one of the course with real students. So there's nothing simulated, there's nothing artificial, it's the real thing, if you like, from the beginning. Okay? Many of our trainees say it was the toughest 4 weeks of their education. Yeah? Or else that they've never learned so much in 4 weeks doing anything else. Yeah? So it's very important to highlight the intensive nature of the course. Okay? So, as I said, we're having this session as an informal, free-flowing session. So let's just take a couple of minutes to buzz with your partner. Yes, as Rod Belitho said earlier on, buzz with your partner is a good idea. And share your impressions of that. What do you think about that? 120 hours of teacher training in 1 month. Does that sound appealing? Does that sound great? Does that sound impossible? How does that sound to you? Tell your partner, share your ideas. Okay, again, can we have some impressions? What did you think? Pretty tough, yeah. That's what I'm trying to get across. Yes, it's pretty tough. Very intensive. Would that be the kind of course you would be interested in yourself? Yes, why?
Very flexibility.
Excuse me? Well, they could be. They could be.
Does it have room for learner space? At learner space?
Yes. Yes. The specifics and the details of a typical day, a typical week, I'm going to go into in a minute. Okay. Fine. So, who is this course for? What kind of people, what kind of teachers are interested in this? Yes, it could be if you're interested in going to another country because it's an internationally recognized qualification. That's a very important aspect of it, yes. Any other thoughts? Okay, all right, then fine. Okay, so you're right. All of those answers are correct. Let's be a little bit more specific. Perhaps we could put it into some different categories there. The kind of teachers, or trainee teachers, candidates that we have on our course in Delhi are perhaps in these 3 categories. We have young graduates who are just starting out in teaching. They have no teaching experience at all, right? We have teachers who have experience. They may have 20 years experience. They may have 25 years experience. And they're looking for a change in their teaching career. They're looking for something new, yeah? They're looking to do something that has a different focus, a different context from the kind of teaching that they're doing at the moment, yeah? We also have people who are also looking for a change in another way, that they may have been working in a certain professional area, and they also are looking for a change, and they've always wanted to get into teaching, and they've decided to make that jump, and they also don't have any experience, but they've got a lot of experience in professional life and a lot of other skills that can transfer to the teaching context. Okay, so we've got these three groups of people that we find typically on any course. Yes, you have a question there. Age bar. She said, do you think there is? No? Why not?
Upper age limit. I'm 63. Can I join?
Well, I can give you a specific example from our last course in Delhi, which we just finished in February. Our youngest candidate was 22, and our oldest candidate was 65, and they both did very well on the course. So I think you're okay. Yeah? Okay, then fine. Okay, what other, so we've talked about the different kinds of people who may be interested in the course. Something else that's very important for this course is that candidates need to have a language level that will enable them to teach at all levels, including advanced level. So candidates need to have the confidence in their own language level to be able to teach all levels of learners, from beginners, elementary, straight through to advanced and very advanced learners. So what does that mean about the language level of candidates? It means that the requirement is a high requirement for the CELTA course. Candidates need to have an accurate and appropriate spoken and written model, which is an excellent model for learners in the classroom. Okay? Because, as the gentleman over here said, it is an internationally recognized teaching award, and so the idea is that a successful candidate would be able to teach wherever, yeah? In different countries, in different contexts, okay? So that language level requirement is quite high, quite high. So again, take a couple of minutes with your partner and just share your impressions so far. What do you think about this mix of different teachers? Yeah, we've got graduate teachers, we've got teachers changing their context, maybe after 20 years of teaching. Maybe we've got people coming in from the corporate world, people coming in from the hospitality business, saying, well, I want to do something different and I want to try teaching. Would you think that will work? Yeah, are there advantages, disadvantages of that? And what about the language level? Take a couple of minutes, and again, just take in your impressions and share them with somebody else. Go ahead.
Just one announcement. In case you want to make any comments or ask any questions, just put up your hand. We'll pass on the mic so that everyone can have the benefit of hearing you. Thank you.
Information to take in. So we're sharing our thoughts and commenting as you wish. Go ahead. Would you want a mic?
I don't know about the disadvantage. Maybe there is, but I will talk about the advantage that I think it will be there by mixing different levels of people, as junior teachers or newly people coming to this field can be benefited from the experience of the senior teachers and can share this experience.
Yes, you're absolutely right. There's a lot of sharing of experience, different kinds of experiences. Often younger candidates have got great IT skills that they can share, and older candidates have got lots of other teaching skills, knowledge about grammar, for example, that they can share. So there's a lot of sharing. That's a very important point. Does somebody else have?
Can they mix up with the old and the young?
Sorry?
Can the old and the young mix up with each other?
Well, I don't know. What do you think? What do you think?
Ideas of old and ideas of young may differ from each other?
Yeah, well, in my opinion, it works precisely for the reason that you said. There's a lot of diversity, a lot of different backgrounds, a lot of sharing of different skills. So I would say yes. I would say yes.
I'd like to know the validity of the course, because we see that after a point everything gets outdated, and what's the value of the course like? Because my basic point is, at some level, both the young learners and the adult learners, it depends, because before you actually select the candidates, you have a preliminary test based on face-to-face or telephonic test, and then you take in the students, be it young students or young teachers or older teachers who have about 20-25 years of experience. But then what is the validity of the certificate? And
well, it's a certificate that is awarded by Cambridge ESL, so it's internationally recognized. It's as valid as any other qualification that one gets. If you don't keep yourself up to date and you don't keep moving, then like anything else, it doesn't. It's not worth anything anymore, I suppose you could say. But in terms of initial teacher training, I think that it's very valuable. Yeah, but we need to keep abreast of developments. We need to keep moving always. So you can't just say, "Hey, I've got the certificate. How long will it last for?" It's another kind of question.
Yeah, what is the fee structure?
Sorry?
Fee structure.
Oh, all right. Can anyone answer that question? Go ahead.
1,17,000.
Right, so it's quite an expensive course, yes? So that means also, what does that mean? It means that it's somewhat of an investment, yeah? It requires a very clear commitment to this kind of course because you have a specific objective that you're going for, either that you want to work in another country or you have a specific focus of the kind of teaching that you want to do. So in that sense, we're getting, as I said at the beginning, we're getting into more specifics now, yeah? So at the beginning, perhaps you wanted to find out about CELTA, so now we're getting into more specific information. Yes, did you have something to say?
I'm sorry, I'm going to mention this point that, she mentioned, because we are determined, a group of the teachers in my country, I'm coming from Iran, we are determined to participate in CELTA course, but 1 month course is equal to, so that getting the MA at the university, the price that we are going to pay, somehow a little bit, so of course a lot, so it's so expensive. And, I want to ask, why is it so expensive?
Okay, that's a very good question. In that sense, let me go and take you through a typical day on the course, yeah? Somewhat anecdotal, that was my intention in our coffee shop. Let me take you through a typical day on the course to let you get an idea of it, and also to answer your question as to why, yeah? Why it's expensive, as you said. Okay, so the course starts in Delhi. I'll give you the example of Delhi. The course starts at 9 o'clock in the morning, and candidates participate in 2 input sessions which are delivered by the CELTA tutors, yeah? The CELTA tutors are tutors who are trained and approved by Cambridge, okay? Only approved tutors can deliver the course, yeah?
Ma'am, I want to know whether there is any scholarship from the British Council for undergrad this course or not. Scholarship,
no,
offering scholarship from any sources.
Well, I can't really answer that question right now, but perhaps we can look at that afterwards, sir, if you don't mind, yeah. Okay, so we're going through a typical day to get an idea of that. The course starts at 9 a.m., let's say, and candidates participate in 2 input sessions which are delivered by the tutors, yes? That's delivering the course content, yeah? It can be lesson planning, language analysis, looking at learning styles, how to teach phonology. Those are some examples of the whole range of sessions which are part of the course content. That's followed by supervised lesson planning, where candidates work in smaller groups of 5 or 6 and work with their tutors. So you've got a very good tutor-candidate ratio for a start, yes? The ratio would be 5:1 or maximum 6:1. So you're working with supervised lesson planning. At the beginning of the course, candidates have prescribed teaching points, which they have to follow through with the help of the tutor. As the course develops, they're expected to become more independent and more creative themselves in developing the points. But at the beginning, there's a lot of help and support. In the afternoons, every afternoon from day one of the course, we are involved in teaching practice. That means that candidates are teaching or watching each other teach, and then they're involved in feedback and discussion afterwards, okay? So let's say that on a Monday you teach, and on a Tuesday you don't teach, but you watch your peers teaching, and every day you're involved in a small group self-evaluation, feedback, and discussion about lessons and setting the action points for the next day. All right? Okay, so that's quite a lot already, don't you think? Yeah? After that, you may go off and observe an experienced ELT practitioner in one of our British Council classrooms, yeah? By then it may be about 6:30 or 7 p.m. in the evening. And then you need to go back home and you need to think about what lesson you're going to deliver the next day. So you need to get your lesson ideas, you need to write your lesson plan, you need to do your research of language, your language analysis. You maybe want some nice pictures, or you want to use something from the internet, or you want to use a song or whatever for your lesson. It's getting pretty late, yeah? And you're still working on it. So basically we're talking about a 4-week full-time commitment, probably evenings and weekends you're pretty busy as well. So I don't know, does that answer your question a little bit? Well, that's the way it's delivered, yes? Yeah, yeah. Well, that's the way it's delivered here. It doesn't have, in some centres, in different centres, it can be a slightly longer time, but in many centres it's delivered in that intensive 4-week mode. Yeah? Well, maybe so.
They're just talking amongst themselves.
Okay.
If they have any questions,
Some people have some questions. Yes, go ahead.
Does British Council help with placement after this course is over?
Not exactly with placement, but there are opportunities in the British Council for successful candidates to work in the British Council teaching centres. You did some research at the beginning about the teaching centres. Where are the teaching centres in India?
Mumbai,
Delhi?
Chennai.
Exactly. So there are opportunities for teaching opportunities there for people who do well on the course, for sure. Yes.
1,17,000 for it.
Yes.
And how long approximately will it take to get that money back?
Well, that's a very good question. What's your calculation? Right, well, that's a very good point. And as we said before, it is somewhat of an investment, and it's a clear commitment. It's not something to go into in a vague kind of way. It is a lot of money, and it is a very clear commitment. So, yeah, probably it's good to be in contact with employers who are interested in that qualification and say, well, you know, if you're successful in that in the course, then we're interested in talking to you and recruiting you. Yeah, okay. Sometimes we have candidates from Indian candidates who are working in other countries, especially in the Gulf countries, who come to take the CELTA course because their university department now is requiring the CELTA as a minimum teaching qualification, not only for English teachers but for teachers of other subjects, because they want them to have that basic methodology, if you like, of managing the classroom. So that's quite interesting. Yeah?
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah?
I have 3 questions. What is the basic qualification to attend this course?
It's called Certificate in the Teaching of English to Adults, and it's awarded by Cambridge ESOL, and it's an internationally...
No, what is the candidate's basic qualification.
Oh, the minimum qualification to get
Yeah.
okay. No teaching experience is required because it is an initial teaching qualification. However, in India, for sure, many of the candidates do have teaching experience, and they wish to take the course because they wish to refresh their teaching experience, they wish to move it in a different direction, or they wish to do something different. Yeah, perhaps to answer your question very clearly. What is very important is the language level requirement for the course, because the language level requirement for the course is the standard of English to be able to teach learners at all levels, including advanced. Okay, so the entry requirement for the course in the selection process very much looks at the language level. Okay, so if a candidate has got good teaching experience, for example, has got very good aptitude, has got very good attitude about teaching, but doesn't quite have that level of English, they would need to work on raising that level of English, yeah?
Ma'am, second question.
Yeah.
After the course, who will evaluate the candidates, and what is the criteria to evaluation?
All right, well, that's a good question. I'm going to go into the evaluation in a minute, but I'll just answer it briefly at the moment. As I said to you before, the trainers on the CELTA course are trained and approved by Cambridge ESO, okay? They're not the regular teachers in our teaching centres. They're trainers who have been trained and approved by Cambridge. And Cambridge is the owner of the CELTA course, not the British Council. Cambridge is the owner. And so Cambridge also assess the course externally. At the end of the course, they send, again, an approved external assessor who samples the work of the candidates' portfolios, observes the teaching, samples the grading and marking of the tutors' evaluations, and sits in and watches the teaching when she or he comes for the external visit. So that creates a standardization on CELTA courses around the world, because these assessors move around different centres and approve the same standard. So in that sense, does that answer your question a little? Yeah? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
I have one more question. After completion of the course, I heard that there is a placement in girls' schools. So some of my friends, family members working in the girls' schools. My doubt is, can we get placement in Gulf universities and university colleges?
Well, that's up to the university, but this is a training course in communicative methodology, if you like. So therefore, a university which recognizes the qualification from Cambridge ESO would be interested in a CELTA trained teacher because they clearly have those skills. Now, it is an initial training course for some people, yeah, but it is a very good foundation in those skills of managing the communicative classroom, yeah, and managing group work, pair work, interaction, group dynamics, which basically any good teaching organization would or should be interested in terms of language teaching. Yeah?
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Madam,
Yes.
I want to know, for CELTA course, is there any special provision for a working teacher, particularly in government sector?
In the government sector, well, I can't really talk about the government sector. That would be up to the government, I guess. It really, I don't have any information about the government funding CELTA training or whatever. That would very much be their realm of authority. Really, I don't have information on that. Sorry. Okay. Let's have another couple of questions before we continue. Can I ask this gentleman here? Yes. Okay, that's fine. All right.
Ma'am, as you told, all the faculty members, rather I can say the tutors, they are approved by the Cambridge.
Yeah.
Are they native speakers or non-native speakers?
Well,
I mean, some of them from India and approved by the Cambridge like that.
Well, let me give you a profile of the trainers. Our main course trainer in India is from Kerala. She's a highly experienced CELTA trainer. She's traded over 50 or 60 courses worldwide in Australia and Malaysia and the UK and in India. Our other traders are from Mumbai, who are also highly experienced in CELTA, and also we have trainers from the UK, from the Delhi Teaching Centre, who have experience in Europe and South America, and myself, I'm a CELTA trainer too. So we have trainers from different backgrounds. What's important is that they have the training experience and background for CELTA. It's an interesting question you ask. Often people ask that about the candidates as well, because the candidates have the same mixed profile. Many of the candidates come from India, but other candidates may come from the UK, they may come from the US, they may be living in India, or they may have some interest in India, and they take the course in Delhi or Mumbai or Chennai. So it's a mixed nationality group. What is important is the teaching. We're interested in good teaching. Doesn't matter where you come from. Yeah? That's pretty much the profile of the candidates and the trainers. Yeah? Okay.
As it is a certificate course, I assume that there is a possibility of failing and passing. So in case the participant failed, is there any backup plan or something? You know.
I didn't quite catch that.
I mean, the possibility of passing or failing in this course is there.
Okay, that's also a good question.
And if it is yes, what is your plan for the people who didn't pass?
Okay, that's a very good question about passing or failing. And it goes back to what some people over here were talking about. In fact, there's a very strict selection process for the course. Yeah? For example, initial application form with 2 written tasks. Okay? Now, those written tasks need to be accurate and fluent and at a good level of writing. Yeah? If there are lots and lots of grammatical mistakes or spelling mistakes in those 2 tasks, unfortunately, the application stops there. Yeah? The second step is candidates who are successful in that initial stage receive what we call language analysis tasks. That doesn't mean to say that we expect everybody to analyze grammar and language absolutely perfectly before they come on the course, but the language analysis tasks help us to see how you manage those tasks, if you like. You can use a reference book and you submit your ideas about how you would analyze grammar, vocabulary, phonology, and also we ask you to write 3 more written tasks about teaching and learning and your ideas about different teaching and learning issues. Yeah, again, those written tasks need to be accurate, and the language analysis tasks need to be attempted well. Yeah, with some thought and research put into them if necessary. And after that, the third step is a face-to-face or telephone interview, which again assesses the level of language. Yeah. So again, in the interview, we're looking at accurate, appropriate, good language model for the learners in the classroom, for the candidates who are accepted on the course. So to answer your question, the selection process is quite strict, it's quite rigorous, and so candidates who get on the course would expect to pass the course, if you like. The only way you wouldn't pass the course is if you got very disorganized or stressed out or you don't bother, which would be unlikely, and it's very, very rare. So once you're on the course, you would expect to pass the course. Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, please.
Okay.
Over here. Hello. You're talking about language analysis. Yes. It's such a wide concept ranging from stylistic analysis to what exactly is the...
Well, remember, this is an initial teacher training course. So language analysis is working with concepts, grammatical concepts. So questions about language analysis would be, what does this sentence mean? Yeah? What is the grammatical form? Do you know grammatical terminology? Do you know what present simple is? Do you know what past perfect is? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Yeah. Do you know anything about phonology and marking word stress? Remember that it is initial teacher training, so that's what I mean by language analysis. Obviously, if a candidate is mixed up with concepts and perhaps does not understand the idea of a conditional sentence or what a sentence means, then they wouldn't be a strong candidate for a course like this. That's what I meant. Yeah? Okay, the subject areas for the course then are 5. There's learners and teachers, the learning and teaching context, language analysis or language awareness. Yeah? To go back to your question, why do we conduct language analysis, language awareness? We do a lot of that on a course like the CELTA to help teachers have confidence in their subject knowledge, to be able to anticipate learners' problems. Yeah, to help learners with error. Okay, raising language awareness of the teacher. Okay, developing learners' language skills. We do a lot of work on lesson planning and resources, adapting resources, finding resources, using a range of resources. And also the last area is professional awareness, building professional teaching skills, being a professional in the classroom. Those are the 5 areas. Now, to go back to lesson planning, sometimes we have teachers who've been teaching for maybe 10 or 15 years, and they don't know how to write a lesson plan. They've never written a lesson plan, and so you know there's a great deal for everybody to learn depending on where they're coming from. That's quite common that teachers haven't got much idea on how to create an organized lesson plan with language analysis of the focus of the lesson. So. Okay. All right, then fine. The last thing I'm going to talk about is the components of assessment, which somebody asked about. The assessment is continuous and integrated. So, again, with the person sitting beside you, what does that mean? Okay, so any ideas? Continuous and integrated, what does that mean?
Day-to-day evaluation by participating of the candidate, and at the end, a summative assessment.
Integrated, what does that mean? Okay, Unit E, yes. Yes, okay, but we've got 2 clear components to this course, haven't we? Which are teaching principles and teaching practice. Okay, so they are integrated, yeah? You're applying principles to the practice, and the practice is learning from the principles. It's integrated, okay.
You're integrating theory with practice, I suppose?
Exactly, absolutely. Okay, it's also portfolio assessment. In some of the sessions that we've been listening to over the past couple of days, there have been many references to portfolio assessment. This is also portfolio assessment. A record, a portfolio of all your teaching assignments is kept, and this is scrutinized by the external assessor from Cambridge. So you're building up your portfolio, you're working on the action points that have been set, and you see the progress of your teaching developing over the course, and recorded and presented in your portfolio. Okay. There are also 4 written assignments on the course, one on learner profiles, one on language analysis again, one on developing learners' language skills, and one on reflection from the classroom. Okay, which these 4 assignments have to be researched and prepared well, submitted to deadlines, and pass them. To go back to the question about pass or fail, you need to pass the written assignments, otherwise the assessment is continuous. Yeah? Okay. All right, then fine. So, coming to the end then, the objective of this session was to share information, really, share information from my particular experience in Delhi, to answer questions. I've met several people in the last couple of days who've asked me lots of different kind of diverse questions about CELTA, so that's why I've left it kind of open today so that we can address those questions. So, just to finish, quiz. All right, I'm going to ask you a question, 5 questions. Can you write your answers in your notebook? Here we go. I'm going to test your recall. Yeah?
My question is, how you ascertain the variation of the candidates that you recruit for your training? How do you ascertain the levels of variation?
The requirements are quite clear. What do we mean by very accurate and appropriate standard of English? How would we evaluate that? Are there any standards that you know that would be equivalent to that in terms of international exams or Cambridge exams? Any suggestions? Yeah, so what level of CEF would it be? C1, C2 is correct, yes. Are you familiar with IELTS? Okay, so what band of IELTS do you think that would be equivalent to?
Does that cater for the needs of the candidates of various levels?
Well, the candidates need to have a high and accurate standard of English. So that's what we're saying. It would be equivalent to C1, C2 on CEF. It will be equivalent to Cambridge Advanced English, Cambridge Proficiency, or IELTS 8, 9. Yeah? You're saying 9? Yeah, okay. Right, okay, so that's what we're referring to. So, here's my quiz to finish. Are you ready? Okay. All right, first question. Who's the course for? Okay, number 2. Short answers are fine. Number 2, what standard of English language is required? Number 3, if I already have teaching experience, is this course suitable for me? If I already have teaching experience, is this course suitable for me? Okay, short answers are fine. Number 4, if I have an MA in TESOL or an MA in linguistics, is there any point in me doing this course? Okay, and the last question, number 5, is the course fee is high. How can I be sure of the quality of this course? All right, then fine. If you're interested in TKT, I have some brochures here about TKT, if you're interested in that too. And we also have some some brochures here from the Teaching Centre about the different training products that we have in Delhi, but today we've focused specifically on the CELTA teacher training course. Let me introduce Beth, Beth Caldwell from the Chennai Teaching Centre. She can also tell you about TKT because they're going to launch some new courses soon. Yeah. Yes? Uh-huh. And?
But without anybody's help or anything, like there was no course or training or anything.
Well, that's, I mean, it's flexible. You can do it without a course, or you can do it with other people and benefit from the interaction of working with other people. Could you tell us your impressions of it then? Did you find it useful?
Yeah, it is useful, but I've just kept the certificates inside that.
All right, fine. Yes?
To the learner community.
Well, that's a very good question, and in fact,
at least it would cut down cost, ma'am.
Well, that's a very good question, and in fact, that's something that we do have in the pipeline. There is a new CELTA course, CELTA Online. It's not all online, it's a blended course where the tutor input is online, but the teaching practice is still face-to-face with the same intensive teaching, feedback, discussion, reflection, self-evaluation in small groups and setting of action points. But yes, it's an interesting alternative. It's a more flexible alternative. It's a less intensive alternative. So in that sense, it's good because, as we know, we need to have appeal to all sorts of different people and different learning styles. Well, okay. All right, fine. The CELTA Online will be something that we will be letting you know more about later in the year on the website. So if you're interested in the online version, keep your eyes open on the website a little later in the year. All right. All right, then fine. I hope that was useful. And if you have any individual questions that you'd like to ask for your specific case, I'll be pleased to answer them. Thanks very much. Okay.